Welcome to the Plan 6 parts video. Welcome to part 2 of tr6 engine removal. So part 1 we took the hood off and all that jazz, so now we're going to move on to the radiator. I'm going to come in and take the radiator off, I'm going to take the air filter and work my way into the carbs because eventually you have to get down to the exhaust. However, it's easier to take this piece off to allow you access to get in at the nuts because it's not exactly easy to get on underneath. So I'll have to take the always have to take the radiator off separate. Okay, so my screwdriver. I drained the rad from the bottom hole, so that should be disconnected, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. So from here, being the top end, I just started disconnecting the hose. If anybody's noticed down on here, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. This is actually an early tr6, however, it's been altered. So it looks like somebody's taken the bits and pieces off, like well, this is a 75-76. So it's a bit of a mixture of everything to make this work. So when we go to put it back together, it's going to be a little unusual because it's not the exact right parts. Okay, top hose is off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rad off. There is the braces here at the side, so these do have to come off. They are a ½ inch. Somebody's used these as ground straps. And even though you drain the rad, I can guarantee there's still fluid in there, so just be mindful when you go to take it off that you will have fluid coming at the bottom. So try to keep it pretty straight if you can. That might stretch. Annoying. Which I don't know. So this one, because it was a mixed bag, you say mixed bag, it crossed early with late. I noticed as I was in here, there's an awful trouble with the fan belt. Because it's an early car and it runs a 3/8 belt, however the water pump that's on it is for a late and it's for a ½ inch. So it's sitting in there, it's sitting in wrong, and I've noticed there's a little lip on it because it's straining on the alternator. So if you do plan on chopping and changing and mixing up engines, make sure when it comes to here that the right water pump is on for the right belt and the right damper. So if you're running an early into 3/8, you have to put an early water pump on. Otherwise you're going to do what's done here, just constant stress all over it. So when you have the rad off, the good thing to do is if you're not replacing it is, like, well, it's out, you can go get the core redone. It's a great time to do it when it's out and have a good check on it because there's no point in pouring a rad in that's seen its days and had a lot of work on it. Like I said, if the ribs and all the back is bad, maybe consider it to swap it out for something else. The new aluminium ones are pretty nice. Alright, next I need to take off the bolts down here. Double extension. Now, with some of them, depending on which model you're taking apart, your canister here, basically your charcoal canister, a lot of them have them fixed here, and you have like the anti-spark below it. If that's the case, you basically undo the screw first to take the charcoal canister, which is pretty straightforward, but the bolt is underneath the anti-spark. And I wish this had it, like I show you. What you do is you just twist it, so it's a half turn and it actually pops out. Because there's two little wings on it that are just flat, and the unit itself sits in, has the two wings in the opposite way, so you put it in, turn the 90 and it stays. So just turn the 90 degrees and it pops out. That way you're not pulling it and bending it, because I've seen people do that to try to get to the bolt underneath. Again, if your studs are bad and you take them out, again, you can buy these brand new in Home Depot. Put a bit of money if you take an old stud out or bolt. Always good to replace it. So if you haven't replaced the bottom holes, depending on where you pull it off, it's sort of the holes get stuck between the chassis and the front valence. So you have to sort of twist it upwards. Look, there you go, I'm spilling liquid. So probably better to take the whole rattle off completely at the bottom. The holes, straight holes. I have a little bucket here I was putting the coolant in. Oh, that's pretty brown. Now I'm not 100% on radiators, but hang on, let me take a look, have a look here. So again, this is the inside you don't see as much. This is where your fan is. You want to see to make sure they're not flattened out too much, it's broken. Obviously a pressure test to make sure it's not leaking is the best. I don't know how that's done, I don't have the tools to do it. I presume you just, like any pressure test, is block the system and put air in it. Other than that, what I like to do to clean it out, if you think your radiator is good, I like to put boiled vinegar in there. It's a good way of breaking down crap and sort of simmer there for a while, the same as you do with a kettle. Just cleans the insides and make sure you rinse it out good. You want to make sure all the vinegar gets out. Again, that's if you're cleaning it yourself. Recommendations, bring it to an actual shop that does radiators and have them test it, flush it, do all the coring. So that'd be my recommendations for you. Either that or, like I said, go for the aluminium red. It's pretty nice. Alright. So, moving on next, we're going to start taking off our air filter. Again, this is meant to be an early engine. So this is meant to be a 1970, 71. As you can see, it even has the late manifold and everything. So, like I said, it really was crossed and chopped and everything. Not to say it doesn't work, but you can mix and match parts from early and late, providing you do it correctly. So if that's the case, I'm sort of not knowing what I want to find on the inside, what's been changed. Like, did you mix and match the heads, or the push rods, different lengths, the wrong lengths, things like that. So I won't fully know until I get into it. So the carburetors. I wish I knew a lot more about the carburetors, I'm not going to lie. I know my limitations. I can only balance them and mix them so much. I'm not an expert in any way, shape or form in it. So again, if you're taking it off, if your carbs haven't been rebuilt, there is a great place to get them done. If anybody's at Brits in the Park 2023, he was there. Forgive me if I haven't got his name offhand. But lucky enough, he was actually right beside me. And we were having a good chat, and do you know what? You seem to have great prices to get the carburetors done. And what I do is, if you want to know who it is, give me a shout. I'll give you his information, deal with him direct, and go and get them built. And he might be able to explain more, and I'm going to grill him as well more about the balancing and the mixture and all what the blooming screws do in here. There's just so many screws and vanes, I haven't a clue. So, I'm at limitations. So yeah, it's a good way to know about them, and again, take them apart, clean them, flush them, get them rebuilt, and then, yeah, because like anything, your carburetors will only work as good as your engine. If your engine's not good, the carburetors won't work great either, vice versa. Like, if the engine is great and the carburetors are not done right, it's a losing battle no matter how you do it. So they go hand in hand, but it always starts with the engine. It always starts to make sure that's running right, the timing is right. I mean, you have good spark. Everything about the engine is good before you ever get to here. And then from here, like I said, it's its own little world. So, all right, now I have them off. I'm going to disconnect the. Basically, I'm going to start pulling plumbing off. I've already blanked off the fuel just before the fuel pump over there, so I know I can take these off. However, like usual, I expect a bit of fuel to come out. It's inevitable. Yeah, the wrong screwdriver for this. Small one. Just so happen to have some behind me. Stumpy one, over. The only other thing I can recommend is that about balancing and adjusting the carburetors. Have a look at Rusty Beauties. I know he has a great video on these, of why he does them. So, I'm expecting it to run out because it's going to be in the lines. But yeah, I know Ellen has done these, and I know he has a great video when he goes through balancing this way, and he shows a great video. So if you're doing them yourself, I said there is other videos as well, but I know Ellen has a great video. So go through the millions of Rusty Beauty videos. Again, always recommended, highly recommended to watch Ellen's videos, and try to find this carburetor once. Make sure we don't lose these clips. Nothing you can't get, but it's always the small stuff that goes missing, and it just makes life a pain if you can't find them. I'm just throwing everything into a box I have down there. Alright, so almost done with that. Best tool available. Actually, my screwdriver will do. I'll take the choke cable off. Very greasy this. So I'm just checking to see which wire he has, because the late model Strombergs, which should be the basically the A3 and the B4s, I believe, they don't have a spring for the choke. It's just wherever you pull it and push it back. When the early models, like the ABs, they were spring loaded, so they were in a soft cable. So when you let the cable back in, it automatically retracted. These won't retract unless you physically push them with the hard cable. So just be mindful of that if you are swapping. If you do swap carburetors around, that depending on which ones you get, they all look the same theoretically, but only the early ones, the AB ones, are spring loaded. Maybe there is some A3s that are spring loaded. But as far as I always done it, that the ABs are spring loaded, and anything from there are all hard cabled. So. Alright, next we're going to look at is the linkage for the throttle. So let me bring the camera down. zoom in. So here is our throttle linkage that connects to the bottom of the carburetors. So this one just simply pops off. It goes either side of the actual accelerator bar. This is one that pops off. Screwdriver. Now, the only thing I don't like about these is they're very flimsy. They're very, like, once you sort of take them off, you never go back in the same way. It's like a one-time use, to say the word. So if you look at them here, I don't know if you can see me do that. Usually when you pull them off, the top here gets separated and it seems to spread out wide and it never sits back in the same way. So you have to almost like squeeze it in. And the same with here. I find the same thing, it spreads out a bit and doesn't go back in. So, oh no, usually when I put them back on, I usually put a little cable tie around it just to make sure it actually holds back on. Flimsy little part. Again, try not to lose it. There is a section regarding this here, taking that off, but once I get further down to get all the manifold off and everything, you can see it clearly, we are going to actually remove this bar completely out of the way to make life easier getting the car out. Oh, getting the engine out. Alright, so once we have that off, what we can start doing is, the linkage is separate. There's 2 bolts that are underneath the carburetors. I can zoom out again. 2 bolts, one on each. And again, they're a 1/2 inch nut. And once you take them off, this whole linkage will come off in one piece. So if you can, this is the hard part. This is the only real awkward part to get into. Hopefully my head is not right. Shoulders, really. Oh. You know what this smells like? Bar salt. It smells like old. It smells like dirty fuel, if you ask me. Maybe I'm getting it from the canister though. This smells like, I find that when fuel goes off, it starts to smell like bar salt tinners. And it turns like it as well, it turns brown, dirty fuel. So, I know the owner said these are working fine, which I'm not saying they're not. They're, you look a little rough, but it doesn't say they didn't work absolutely fine. As I say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Hopefully I went the right way. See glass in here. It looks like it was something sandblasted at some stage. Like it's medium. I think I need to get the ratchet spanner for this. It's getting slow, but the only problem is though it doesn't fit in. It's too fat to head to fit in. What you know is taking these off as well, sometimes you can't get the nut all the way off. It just sort of sits there, and then when you pull it off, it will fall down. So don't have it sitting over grass or something, otherwise you'll lose the nut. Depending if you're working on your car or side or not. And it's good well to do that, but I left the bucket under there in case Throttle must have fall down, so I can catch them. So sorry, there's two different ways you can take these off. You can either, if you do take off just the linkage on its own, you're going to have to loosen off the edges here for these to separate away from the arms on the actual carburetors, or else you can undo it and take the whole lot as one, like the entire linkage and all. So this customer is going to get Weber's, so I'm going to disconnect the linkage because there's no point in keeping them together. Not the best tool to use, so I think it's like a size 8 or something like that. I know it's loose, but I haven't got enough to get fingers. So. Didgeridoo. Go for a walk and I'll get the spanner for. Twisting in the front, so it's just not loosening enough. All the screws in this look awful rusty, as if they were exposed to salt or something. So, and what went on it? I picked the wrong one on. Oh, it did. The nut I thought was holding it on. It's the other one. I have to go to the other side this thing. See it in here. Back. Oh, no, it's raining there. Raining and I have my car outside. I'm saying it's awkward to get there. There you go. These nuts are terrible to get, they're just awkward. They're awkward because you can't see them. Alright, now I can take the linkage off. There we go, and there's our linkage off. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it a little short. I'm going to continue on taking these off by undoing them. And join me on part 3 where, like I said, there's only, well, 1, 2, 3, another 5 more nuts, and these 2 just fall off. So, yeah, that's it for part 2. Join me on part 3 and I'll move on to the intake manifold and I'll start taking off the alternator and the bits and pieces over in that end to make it a little narrower and just to expose so I can get more room to get in at the exhaust. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in part 3.